sovereign AI infrastructure. The government is planning to create a common pool of resources through the India AI mission, where the government is investing in the infrastructure from the chips needed to the data centers which are necessary, including the power sources which are necessary. So those countries which have already invested in clean renewable energy, they will have an edge, they will have an advantage. If countries have solar capabilities, wind power, and even nuclear power, especially the small modular reactors, then we can easily power the upcoming AI infrastructure through these clean and renewable sources. Instead of relying on fossil fuel based energy, such as thermal power plants, it would be environmentally friendly to rely upon clean and renewable sources of energy, such as solar, wind, and especially nuclear energy. That's why American tech giants are looking at these options. As I said, these big companies are looking at nuclear power as well, to have small modular reactors on site at their data centers, at their AI facilities, so that they can reduce the environmental burden. But this will require significant investments in clean and renewable energy. So this is where India actually is in a slightly better position, given the massive shift that we are making towards clean and renewable energy. Given that India has prioritized solar power, wind power, and in the recent budget, the government has started backing the small modular reactors to be set up across the country. So greater investments in clean renewable energy will reduce the environmental cost of AI. It will bring down the overall emissions. Because don't forget, India has a carbon neutrality target by 2070. Most countries have a more ambitious carbon neutrality target. By 2050, many countries have committed to achieve a net zero target by then, which means they have to bring down their overall carbon emissions. And while these new technologies are promoted, it's important to shift the source of power towards clean, renewable forms of energy. So this is one important issue that is being highlighted in the editorial. It's not just about the energy requirement and the emissions associated with it. It's also about the pollution, the effluent discharge, which could happen from the semiconductor electronics industry, and the environmental cost of large-scale mining. So all these environmental consequences will have to be considered, not just by the AI companies and the tech companies, but also by governments. So that is why it is important to prioritize clean renewable energy, as it will help drive the future of AI. This could become a better viable alternative to power AI data centers and the backend infrastructure of AI algorithms. Now coming to the column on page number 7. This column talks about a recent policy that has been notified by the Ministry of Electronics and IT with regard to financing for AI infrastructure. As I told you, India has an ambitious mission, the India AI mission, under which the government is looking to set up sovereign AI infrastructure. When I say sovereign, it means government-owned. Government-owned AI infrastructure is being set up in the country. And the government is looking to collaborate with the private sector to realize the AI ambitions of India. So with regard to setting up this infrastructure, which includes procurement of the GPUs, the advanced processors and chips which are needed, setting up the massive data centers, this entire infrastructure is being backed by the government, and with involvement of private vendors and private suppliers, the government is trying to create this facility so that the end users, which would be the tech startups and the AI companies, they can make use of the common infrastructure which the government would have created, and thus they could focus on AI innovation. It will reduce the cost of investments for these small startups and AI companies. They can utilize the common pool of infrastructure that the government is creating to the India AI mission. So in order to set up this common infrastructure, the Ministry of Electronics and IT has recently notified a procurement policy to procure these chips to set up the data centers. The government has notified certain guidelines regarding how this initiative will be executed. According to this guideline issued by the Ministry of Electronics and IT, the ministry is providing for a continuous empanelment process. Now, what do you mean by continuous empanelment process? It basically means the vendors who are looking to supply the infrastructure, set up the basic facilities, they will be continuously empaneled by the government, brought on board the project which is being run by the government. So those vendors who are looking to procure and supply the processing chips or set up the data centers, they will have to undergo a tender process, a bidding process. They will have to submit their proposal, and those who are able to submit the lowest bid, the lowest price, they would be awarded the contracts to procure the chips and to set up the data centers. So this approach of the Indian government to continuously empanel vendors, to bring new vendors on board continuously, it won't be a one-time process. Every now and then